Hi everyone, today I'm going to show you how you can use Clawdbot to run your n8n workflows from your phone. I'm sure many of you have heard about Clawdbot already, probably got it set up. If you haven't, I'd recommend doing that now. There's plenty of videos out there to help you do this nice and safely. Essentially, if you're using your main laptop, you'd want to use a VPS, a virtual private server, or a Mac Mini preferably. So in this video, I'm going to be using a UGC video generation workflow as the example, but there's plenty of different use cases that you could want to use this for. So but for this example, all I do is I send a single picture of a product and just a few lines describing the video, and it shoots off, it triggers the workflow, goes through it and sends the video straight back to my phone in the Telegram chat itself. So I'm going to show you quickly a demo of me doing this in Telegram, and then I'm going to walk you through the setup step by step so you can do this today. Why would you want to do this? You might be asking yourselves. Well, it's really cool. You can be out, you can be in the gym, you can be in bed watching Netflix, you can be anywhere. As long as you've got your Clawdbot set up and running, you'd be able to use this workflow. So for example, if you're scrolling on TikTok, you see a product that you like, you want to create a UGC video on it for whatever, you can just drop it into this Clawdbot in Telegram, WhatsApp, and it will pump out this UGC video for you for whatever uses that you'd want to do. And as I said, this is just one example. You've probably got tons of n8n pipelines that this would be useful for. So yeah, let's get into it. Right guys, so as you can see on the left hand side is my phone in Telegram talking to the agent. So this is agent bot is my Clawdbot on my phone. And then the main screen, you can see the n8n workflow that I have. Now this workflow is essentially to generate UGC content. So the way it works, very quickly, I'll go into more detail on this afterwards, but essentially it gets a row from a Google Sheet, and that Google Sheet has these details in it. So product photo, ICP, features, video setting. Okay, so it takes these details from the Google Sheet and uses it to create a UGC style video. Okay, so the first thing to do, I'm going to just show you how it works, and then I'll walk you through the workflow and how to hook it up to your Clawdbot afterwards. But what you do, you append the Google Sheet. So you just tell Clawdbot to do this. Append the Google Sheet with the following. So I'm going to tell it this: append the Google Sheet, product, Stanley mug, ICP, anyone wanting to stay hydrated, product features, keeps liquid the same temperature for more than 24 hours, video setting, young lady in her home holding the Stanley mug. And then I'm just going to attach a screenshot, okay, and just send that through to my agent, and that should appear in my Google Sheet. So let's see that, he's typing, and there you go. Okay, and let's click on the picture. There it is, the Stanley mug. What's he said? Uploaded. Okay, cool. And now I'm very simply going to trigger the workflow, and then bang. So that rocket means he's hit the webhook and it's now running. Okay, so the workflow from end to end takes a couple of minutes. So the bits where I'm waiting, I'm probably just going to skip through them, but cool. So it's now already generated the first half of the workflow, which is the image, which the pipeline then builds the UGC video from. So you can see that here. Cool, nice. The Stanley mug looks exactly as it does in the picture. Okay, and look, there it is running. So this is the video This is the part that takes a while. Right, so there you go. You get that succeeded message. The video has been created, and the agents actually sent us back the UGC video. So let's have a look at what it's created, and we can quickly see here. Yeah, there you go. Succeeded. It's gone all the way through. And the video looks a bit strange because it's in Telegram, so it's a different format. So I'm just going to get it in my photos.
What I really love about this Stanley mug is how it keeps my drinks hot or cold for over 24 hours, perfect for my busy days. Plus, it fits right in my car holder, so I take it everywhere.
Right, so now that you've seen how it works, I know many of you might be thinking, okay, this is quite simple. I can probably do this in a different application. Why Clawdbot? Well, when I uploaded this screenshot with the text, it used two APIs to then get the pipeline, the workflow, in a position to be executed. Okay, it used the IMGBB API to give this a URL, this image a URL, and it updated the Google Sheet for me. Okay, I'm going to show you how you can set it up yourselves for your own workflows. The UGC workflow is just an example of how useful this setup can be. But essentially, the main thing is this webhook node right here. So I'm just going to open it up. Now, you see you have a test URL, production URL. You're going to set the HTTP method to post. And you're going to want to give Clawdbot your production URL. And you're going to say, this is a URL to trigger my n8n workflow. Can you do this? And it will just say, yes. Tell it, save this URL to your memory. And every time I run a command, you trigger this workflow. Okay, so you can see I used n8n /n8n UGC. Okay, and when I type that in my Telegram, whenever, as long as it's Clawdbot is on, the workflow is triggered, and it's that simple. Okay, it's literally that simple. You're going to want to set some authentication just for security reasons. So I set header auth. It's very easy to set up. So here you can see, you just create a name. I named it Clawdbot API key, and you have to give it a value. I think this was like 32 digits long, of like numbers and letters combined. So you can just create that yourselves. You can even ask Clawdbot to create it for you. And you just put it in there, and it's that simple, guys. You give these credentials to Clawdbot as well, and every time it sort of hits the workflow, it uses these credentials as well. And the security measures are just there, so like no one can hit your URL apart from Clawdbot, if that makes sense. You're going to want to set the response to immediately, and that's literally it, guys. In terms of the APIs for this workflow, to connect Clawdbot to your Google Sheets or any of your Google applications, if that's something you want to do, you need to use a Google Cloud Console. So go here to console.cloud.google.com and remember, guys, Clawdbot is super intelligent. Okay, get it to help you, help run you through the setup for these APIs. Just ask it, if I want you to connect to my Google Sheet, what do you need? And it will tell you. So it told me go to Google Cloud, go to Google Sheets API, and you have to set it to enabled, which I did, and then you have to create a service key. Okay, now I'm not going to go through the process of creating that service key, but guys, as I said, ask Clawdbot, it will tell you. Another API I used was api.kie, so Kie.ai, and this is essentially a way to hook up your workflows to any image or video generator, or like the main ones. I'm not sure if it has every single one. But you can see here the main, it's got pretty much all the good ones. In my workflow, I used Nano Banana to actually create the image, and then I used Seedream to create the video. I found that Seedream's been quite good for me. The final API I used was the IMGBB API. So see here, IMGBB. This was used so that I could put in a screenshot into Clawdbot, and it was smart enough to actually use the API key for IMGBB to create a URL, like a JPEG URL for that screenshot, which you can see here. Okay, so I think that's all the APIs I used for this. At the end of the workflow, I had to download the video binary so that I could then send it back to Telegram, because you can't just send it back in the MP4 format. You have to do this node here. It's very simple. It's a get method. And yeah, that's pretty much it, guys. If you've made it this far in the video, I appreciate it. Thanks for watching. It's my first video on YouTube, but I've got big plans to be posting a lot more. As I said, guys, I'm sure many of you have like very different pipelines that can do many different things that will be super useful to be able to just execute using Clawdbot. It's new technology. It's really exciting. I think it's only going to get better, Clawdbot. Again, guys, if you haven't got it, get it now. Like, why wouldn't you? I see people hating on Clawdbot, saying negative things, but realistically, if you don't like Clawdbot, you just don't know how to use it. That's the way I see it anyways. So yeah, thanks guys. I'm probably gonna wrap it up there, but yeah, stay tuned for more content.